Chapter 9. Formation of a Personality. Answers to the questions I had asked myself previously about how I had become easy prey to unscrupulous men made me feel empowered. These were mainly gathered from precious childhood memories, current good realities such as my spiritual birth experience, my personal relationship with the Lord, and sad socio-political realities that I felt I could not change, and my dreams for the future. I decided to make some vital adjustments in my inner world. As I made these adjustments, it felt as if I was swimming against a strong current. I knew the Lord would help me, and I prayed a lot. I had to change me. First, naivete had to go. I began to pray intensely for the Lord to deliver me from naivete by granting me one of the gifts of the Holy Spirit, the gift of discernment. Slowly, I began to understand that people do not always mean what they say, and that they sometimes do things without much prior thinking. This made me establish that my trust was to be earned, and not granted instantly as I had tended to do. I also prayed that the Lord would keep me from paranoia and show me ways to remain loving and caring without being taken advantage of. The Lord then asked me to forgive everyone who had hurt me and to surrender my every hurt and fear, my every feeling and desire, along with my mind and my very life, to Him, trusting that He would not fail me. It was a learning process. He taught me how to relate to people, not directly, but through Him and for His sake. I found myself taking ownership of His Word as I increasingly read, memorized, and professed it daily. I became an avid reader of dietary information. This helped me understand that the best foods are not necessarily my favorites, but the ones that would enhance my body strength. I started eating a wider variety of vegetables and fruits, whether I felt hungry or not. I also drank more liquids, especially water, whether I felt thirsty or not. Also, one day in March 1987, the Lord healed me miraculously of the dangerously low blood pressure that I had suffered from for 8 years. This problem appeared at the time following my father's untimely death when he was just 47 years old. The healing occurred during an evangelistic crusade in Yaoundé, conducted by an evangelist by the name of J.L. Jayet. All of a sudden, my blood circulation was boosted so much that I got caught up in a laughing bout that lasted more than 30 minutes. All symptoms were gone. I felt very energetic and very happy. I then knew that my future would be bright and better things were ahead of me. I felt the strongest and happiest that I had felt in my entire life. I decided to enhance my newly found physical energy with physical exercise, but I was so unaccustomed to exercise that I was unable to do more than 2 push-ups in a row. Sit-ups were very difficult and painful too. I started with jogging on a flat ground for 2 kilometers. I then moved on to take the bigger challenge of jogging up and down some of Yaoundé's steep hills. After a few successful trials, I went to a parcours vitae in Mount Febe, a running track in the mountain with stations for all sorts of other physical exercises. The experience was so challenging that I almost passed out the first day. God sent a man along to show me some tricks. For example, he showed me how to breathe rhythmically while jogging or doing push-ups or sit-ups, how to use various parts of leg muscles by running backward when the slope was too challenging, what to do when feeling faint during exercise, and the importance of drinking water. I never saw that man again, but I religiously applied his instructions. After a while, some men began to complain about me being too strong, especially when I shook hands with them. I said, "Me? Too strong?" From then on, anybody who tried to mess with me always had something to say about my physical strength. For example, when one male acquaintance of mine tried to kiss me by force a few years ago, I twisted his arm and held it firmly behind his back. His attempts to pull out his arm failed. I held it long enough for him to understand that I would do worse if he tried forcing me again. All of a sudden, he began to complain about being a weak man. I said, "Uh-huh." God's power in me has not been limited to my physical empowerment. It is deeper than that. One cold night in early March 1998, I found myself on the number 7 subway line in Queens, New York, on my way back to Manhattan. I was sitting on the rear car of the train, just so I could conveniently take the exit closest to my home. At one point, a young man, apparently in his mid to late 20s, stepped into the car. Automatically, the Spirit of the Lord warned me to be on my guard. He walked past me to the very end of the car. I noticed from the corner of my eye that he was dropping his trousers. The first thought that came to my mind was, is this animal going to pee in here? He probably thought I did not see what he had just done, so he turned to me, his loosed trousers camouflaged by his long winter jacket. He pretended he wanted to know what time it was and asked me, "Miss, do you have the time?" I did not hesitate one moment, knowing what he was up to. I yelled and jumped at him, simultaneously saying, "How dare you?" Within 45 seconds or so, he was saying, "I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm sorry," and begging me to not pull the emergency brake of the train, which I had threatened to pull. He ran away just as soon as he was able to. Although I was royally disgusted by his attempt, I was happy to see the Lord give me a chance to exercise my spiritual authority over the demons of rape. I was definitely getting my revenge. It felt good to see them tremble. Praise Jesus.